Did you know that St. Luke's University Health Network, based in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, has been recognized by the U.S. government as the highest performing health system in the United States for quality? You heard right. St. Luke's #1 recognition affirms our status as the top leader among the most respected healthcare providers in the nation, including Houston Methodist and the Mayo Clinic. To state it simply, if you want to receive the best care when you go to a hospital, come to St. Luke's.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me. Taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
The king of Rockland County, Mr. Salt, Mike Lawler, is as good as any congressperson, if not the best in the country. And I'm not just saying that because he's on the phone right now, but, or maybe I am. I don't know. I don't think I am. I think I really believe that. Don't you, Mike?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you believe that?
For sure.
Would you actually say to somebody like I do? I always tell people I'm the best radio host in the country. I do it with no problem. Would you tell people I'm the best congressperson in the country?
No, that I wouldn't do.
Is it because you don't believe you are, or because you try to maintain some type of professionalism, which I don't have?
You try to, there's an old saying, humble in victory, gracious in defeat. Try to be slightly humble.
Okay. Well, who's a better politician, you or Rand Paul?
Me by far.
I've never liked that son of a bitch. I don't like Thomas Massey. I don't like Rand Paul. Way before Rand Paul's kid lashed at you on a drunken anti-Semitic rant in D.C. 2 nights ago. All those guys do. Massey, Rand Paul, Murkowski, Collins, Romney. All they do is, if Trump likes vanilla, I like chocolate. And they're Republicans. They're supposed to be on our team. I can't stand Rand Paul. I was the only guy in the country who was happy. Don't get upset. He got his ass kicked on his front lawn. I was actually happy. And his kid to do what he did to you in D.C. a couple of nights ago, I don't know if William Paul heard that type of talk in his house. I can't blame Rand for that because I'm not there. But usually when a kid goes off like that, he hears that somewhere close to home. Were you shocked, dismayed, disgusted? I know he's apologized now, the kid, but have you heard from, I don't know, his father, Rand Paul?
No, I've not heard from his father. And, his son is an adult, so I'm not going to cast aspersions on his father, except to say if that was my child, I'd be absolutely mortified and embarrassed and would actually pick up the phone and say something.
Of course.
But, nobody has heard from him, and from a number of reporters apparently asked him for comment, and he said he had no comment.
No comment. So give me, tell me it's ridiculous. It is mind-boggling. It's grotesque, and Rand Paul should be ashamed of himself. But again, he's not a good guy. I'm sorry. Give me exactly what happened. It was on the news. People read about it. But you're in a bar in Washington, D.C. Here comes Rand Paul's son, William Paul. Are you guys even talking? What happens next?
So Washington, D.C. is not like New York. It's actually very difficult to find food after 10 o'clock at night. And I had just wrapped up an hour-plus long staff call, and I went to go grab dinner and meet a friend. I got to the Tune-In, which is right next to the Capitol and the House office buildings. And so there was only one seat at the bar. And so I went to sit down, and sitting next to me is this fully inebriated kid. And by kid, I mean 30-year-old adult. And so he goes, "Are you Mike Lawler?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "No, well, you look like him." I said, "Yes, I'm him." And he goes, "Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Rand Paul's son." And I go, "Oh, okay, nice to meet you." And obviously, anybody who's ever been at a bar when somebody is completely bombed, you have zero interest in talking.
Zero. So you knew at that point. You knew right away at the beginning he was gone.
I knew this was going downhill at some point. So I'm sitting there. My friend comes to meet me. We're getting food. And I get a text from a reporter, Reese Gorman, asking if I'm out and want to meet up for a drink. And I said, I'm at the Tune-In, and he happens to live right around the corner. So he came over. So he's standing right behind me. My friend is sitting right next to me. And then you have Rand Paul's drunk son sitting right next to him. Mm-hmm. And so the three of us, excluding William Paul, are having a conversation. And all of a sudden, he jumps in and starts chastising me that if Thomas Massey loses next week, it's because of your people.
Your people.
Now, I'm not stupid, but I wanted to hear him say it. So I said, well, who are my people?
Yeah.
And he goes, Jews!
Jews!
I looked at I go, I'm sorry, what? I go, do you think I'm Jewish?
Right.
And he said, yes. And I said, well, I'm actually Irish, Italian, Catholic. And he goes, wait, what? He goes, you're not Jewish? I said, no. And he goes, oh my God, I'm so sorry that I accused you of that. And I was like, so I go, wait, what? I go, so, I mean, if I was Jewish, what exactly would be the problem? And he proceeded to go on a 10-minute diatribe about, how he hates the Jews. He was blaming the Jews. He was going after Paul Singer. And I politely reminded him that Paul Singer is an American citizen and allowed to engage politically just like anybody else in this country. And he said, no, he's beholden to Israel. Oh, he only cares about Israel, screaming and yelling. Yeah. And, ultimately, I pushed back very directly on him. And one of the things I said to him, I said, let me ask you a question. I said, are you Christian? And he said, well, yes. I said, and you read the Bible, right? And he goes, well, I'm secular. I said, oh, okay. I said, but you do understand the Bible. And he said, yeah. I said, and you understand there's a part of the Bible called the Old Testament.
Yeah.
The whole thing about Judeo-Christian values, it's because it's at the core of our foundation, our Constitution, our rule of law. Like, you believe in those things, right? And he was like, well, I believe in Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ is the only thing that matters.
Sure.
The Old Testament doesn't matter. I said,
doesn't matter. Okay. So, because I would tell you that hold on. So I've had Father Casado on this show many times, Monsignor Casado. Anytime there's a big holiday, whether it's comes on Good Friday, comes on Christmas, and I say, can you explain to me why there are Christian people who hate the Jews? And he said, yeah, they're stupid. This is coming from Monsignor, Father Casado. He goes, because they have to know that what you just talked about, the Old Testament, that a lot of Christianity, a lot of it, is based on Judaism. By the way, Jesus was Jewish.
Well, Jesus was Jewish.
Right. So, and then you guys talk about Abraham. You talk about Moses. You do that in church, do you not?
Of course.
Right.
So I said to him, well, obviously this conversation's not going anywhere. And then he went into Iran, and the reason we're in Iran is because we're trying to steal the land for the Jews and the gays.
The gays.
I said, the gays. I said, what about the gays? And he goes, I hate the gays and I hate the Jews, and I don't care if they die. And I
said that.
Well,
he said that.
Yeah.
He said, I hate the gays. This is Rand Paul's son, everybody, that great guy out of Kentucky, that jerk off. His son said, I hate the gays. I hate the Jews. I don't care if they die.
Correct. And I said, all right, guy, I think it's time for you to leave. This conversation is obviously going nowhere, and you need to just excuse yourself.
Okay, well, no, don't forget. Hold on. But you got into words with Hakeem Jeffries a couple of months ago, which nearly came to fisticuffs. You admitted that on this program. Was that the case with William Paul, or not really?
No. Listen, this kid was stumbling, bumbling. I mean, he couldn't even fucking stand or talk. But he goes. I said, listen, it's clear you hate the Jews. Don't you put words in my mouth, Mike Lawler. I said, I didn't put words in your mouth. You literally just said it. And he goes, I'm drunk. I don't know what I don't know what I'm saying. I said, I think it's time to go home. And he goes, yeah, I got to get out of here. I got to go home. He paid his bill. He tripped over his stool on his way out the door.
I've done that.
And I mean, now, mind you, a reporter was standing there witnessing the whole exchange. It was insane.
Crazy.
Oh, and I did forget this one part. In the middle of his diatribe against me, he starts yelling at me about salt.
Salt. So he knew.
Just totally out of left field.
But he knew.
Screaming at me about salt.